Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is December 27th, 2023. Ah, year's almost done. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there, everybody. This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. Hope everybody had a fine, and fun and food-filling holiday. I know I did. I don't make New Year's resolutions, and I'm a personal trainer, but I'm going to do what most of my clients are going to do and promise myself that in the new year, I'm going to work harder and lose some weight. Going to do my best anyway. Man, I've been eating like crazy, man. Food around here is so good.
I actually said to my wife, in the new location, there is a gym downstairs. That's how I'm gonna have to go
Oh,
back.
that's cool.
Yeah, there is a gym here, man. I'm gonna have to get you to come over and, maybe we can look at a couple of the things. But with the house being renovated, the other house being renovated, I'm running back and
You're
forth.
still going back and forth.
And
Yeah.
I'm hitting the steps because I'm up in the steps looking at all the stuff. And then I'm carrying stuff that's going to go get donated because we got a house full of stuff that won't fit in an apartment. So
Right.
it keeps me busy. So, but as this slows down and the work's just about done, and it goes up on the market, hopefully it'll move quickly and consequently, I can get back to a regular gym type schedule. In
Excellent.
the meantime, how did you do last week?
9 wins, 7 losses, and at least 2 games that I did not see coming. I mean, I got thrown for a loop on a couple of these bad boys, man.
Well, I mean, that's why we do what we do, baby. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's why we do what we do. Um, the bias plus report was correct on a 56% basis.
Okay.
So we broke 50%. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wrong,
Mm.
and
Yeah, that's same as me.
yeah,
Exact
yeah,
same.
exact
Yeah.
same. And we're looking at the Ravens, the Raiders, the Pats, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Rams. All were bias beaters. I'll tell you later which was the bias buster of the.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely, man. And that's the fun of football. It's the surprises. My beloved Niners, we'll talk. I know you'll talk about that when we do that recording.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I know. But I told you that was the game, and these were the teams. And what did I say, man? The team that can make you play 11-on-11 football has a decided advantage. And I was really interested to see how we did. You can talk about that a little bit later. So you ready to kick off the Bias Plus reports and
Yes, sir.
hit the Thursday night game? Oh my goodness. And look, I think this was week what?
This is week 17 coming up.
So I remember last week saying that week 18, when I looked at the schedule, everything said to be determined.
Right.
So I don't know if we're even going to have a Thursday night game next week or a Sunday night I don't know what we're going to have because everything's to be determined. And
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible that tomorrow may be the last Thursday night game. We'll have to see.
yeah, it could
Are
be.
are are there Saturday games this weekend?
Well, see, that's the thing. One Saturday game,
Okay.
all right, and then everything else is basically Sunday. And there's a Sunday night game. I don't see anything on Monday.
Yeah, I think Thursday and Monday night's about to get phased out.
Yeah, so now we have uh week 18 and everything still says to be determined and it has no day. So I
Yeah.
don't know what's a Saturday, what's a Sunday, or if everything's on Sunday or what they're doing here. But that is yet to be determined. As
Okay.
far as we're concerned, the Thursday night game, let's get ready to kick that off here. is the Jets at Browns. Bias plus score of 7.9 favors the Browns.
7.9. Okay. All right.
Flacco, baby.
I'm telling you. So the Jets are going to have to go to Cleveland for this one. Jets are 6-9. Browns are nice, tight 10-5. Last week, Brees Hall ran for 2 touchdowns. He had some really nice runs in that game. And quarterback Trevor Siemian threw for 1. And with a couple of field goals from kicker Greg Zuerlein, the Jets ran out to a 20-point first half lead on the Commanders. Then the second half, the tables turned a little bit. The Commanders scored 3 consecutive touchdowns to actually take the lead. With 1:41 left, the Jets were able to finally force a 3-and-out and then put together a game-winning drive that they finished off with another Greg Zuerlein field goal, and they won the game 30-28. Very good game, very exciting game. Now, the Joe Flacco Renaissance Tour continues. And this week, he led Cleveland to a 36-22 road win over the Houston Texans. The game was not nearly as close as the score may indicate. So you say 36-22, that's a pretty good, pretty decided victory. It was actually worse than that, to tell you the truth, if you watch the game. In fact, Browns were actually up 36-7 until about 6:08 left in the game when the Texans were able to score their second touchdown of the game. Along the way, Joe Flacco threw for 368 healthy yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions. He's been throwing 1 or 2 interceptions each week, I noticed. But still, he's putting up lots of yards. He's putting up lots of scores. He was a magnet. Amari Cooper was a magnet for the ball this week. He set a new franchise record with 265 yards receiving, along with his 2 touchdown catches. The defense grabbed 2 interceptions off the Texans, and they defensed 11 passes. The Cleveland defense is playing top notch. I know we're looking at some of these other defenses. Cowboys defense is faltering a little bit. All of a sudden, they can't stop the run. Obviously, the Ravens defense just proved themselves to be super strong. Some of these other defenses we've been talking about have been pretty good. But I tell you, that Cleveland defense is tough. They're really tough. That being said, there's no way that I can pick the Jets going into Cleveland to beat the Browns. So I'm going to take the Browns at home.
Going with the bias, going with the Browns. And from what I understand, Flacco had approached the Jets about coming back in after Rodgers got hurt, and they said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
The graphic I saw today showed that Flacco now has as many TDs in the time that he's played as the Jets have had all season.
I'm not surprised.
And, I'm not the biggest Flacco guy. I looked at him as a statue. But his arm is as strong, it seems as strong as ever. And even when he's throwing the ball away, he looked like he was throwing one away that Amari, with one of those amazing tiptoe catches, literally brought it in. I thought he was throwing the ball away. I think everybody did so. But his arm looks really, really lively. And the line is giving him enough time in most cases that he doesn't always look like he's under pressure. So he doesn't need to be as mobile, So if you got a good line and you got a decent arm and a smart quarterback, you can do some things.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I'm noticing a little transformation with this very talented offensive line, where before they were noted as a great run line. Like Cleveland, when Chubb was still playing, they would run people into the ground. And even with Ford, who's still a running back now, and with Hunt, they're still running the ball well, but they're extremely proficient at pass blocking now that they know they have a quarterback that can't move so well. But when he's protected, he can launch it. So kudos to the Cleveland Browns offensive line.
Oh, okay. So kudos going out to the Browns.
Got some kudos going out.
Kudos. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. So the first game that we're going to talk about here, Benny, is the Lions at the Cowboys. Bias
Ooh.
plus score of 9.6 favors the Cowboys. And Benny, I think the skew is still in effect with the Cowboys.
Why you say that?
Well, I mean, they've had really healthy net point averages all year, and but those averages are still like your team. What was it, 40-0? I mean, that takes a while to average out. So you have
Yeah.
a couple of more of those, and again, the teams with the losing records, they tend to really beat up on those guys. So they put
Right.
up a lot of points on those guys. So even when they lose, net point wise, they're still in the positive and actually up in the top three, I believe. So, and I'll take a quick look, but yeah. So you look at the Lions now, their defense, I believe, is starting to get a little more respect. Questions, their offense, they're pretty much known that they can score, they can do some things. But this favors the Cowboys, and the question is, can the Lions take advantage of that soft run defense that the Cowboys have been putting up? What do you think?
Well, let's see. Their first problem for the Lions is, excuse me, they're 11-4, but their first problem is they're going to have to go to Dallas to play the Cowboys, and the Cowboys don't seem to know how to lose at home. They don't seem to know how to win on the road, but they sure don't seem to know how to lose at home. Um, Detroit and Minnesota actually put on a real good show. It was an old-fashioned NFC North battle. Uh, but for all the scoring, the Lions only lost the lead briefly. So they held the lead most of the game, even though it was kind of back and forth, touchdown for touchdown, field goal for field goal, so on and so forth. Uh, After halftime, mainly because the defense grabbed 4 interceptions, helping to keep the ball in Jared Goff's hands and dominating the time of possession. So it's going to be very difficult, obviously, to win a game or even compete with the time of possession when you turn the ball over 4 times, which is what Minnesota did. The Lions ended up winning the game 30-24. Goff was 30 of 40, 257, 1 touchdown, 0 turnovers. The 1 passing touchdown went to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he had a stellar day. 12 passes caught, 106 yards. The actual star of the show, though, was the Lions' run game, which doesn't look good for the Cowboys. Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, and David Montgomery ran for 55 yards and 1 touchdown. Not big numbers for each guy, but together they're a load. The Cowboys are now 3-5 on the road after their 22-20 loss in Miami. I don't know why people are acting like Miami killed them, because they really didn't. This was a good game, and it was tight throughout.
Well, yeah.
Even though that, yeah,
What Miami? What? Field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal.
yeah, pretty much it was crazy. People are like, "Oh man, they lost. They lost Miami. Miami's way better than them." I'm like, "What are you talking?"
Miami normally scores in the 30s. I think. What did they score? 20 something?
20. It was 22-20.
Well, yeah. So they're down like more than a touchdown.
Yeah, and it's crazy. But what I was going to say was, even though Dak actually played really well, enough, obviously well enough to win, I thought he threw for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't throw any interceptions. He did miss out on a sure scoring opportunity on the Cowboys' first drive of the game, though, when he fumbled the ball on Miami's 1-yard line. So
Oh
it was
my
one of them
God.
things like, yeah, like you had in the Eagles game. You got the ball on the 1, and the next thing you know, you're on the 12. You know what I mean? So they ended up kicking a field goal there when they could have went up with a touchdown. The defense, however, wasn't very great. Um, they only let in 1 touchdown, and they held the Dolphins to 5 field goals, but that turned out to be enough. Dallas only scored 2 field goals on their own and 2 touchdowns on passes to CeeDee Lamb early in the game, and Brandon Cooks late in the game with like 3 minutes left. That allowed Miami to go ahead, kick their 5th field goal, and win the game as time expired. So that was a really good game. But again, the team that made the most mistakes ended up losing. That was the Cowboys. However, at home, ooh, this is a bit of a tough one. I might have to ask you for some stats on this one. I'm leaning toward the Cowboys because they are at home and because their home record is so good. However, after seeing that run defense, man, and knowing what the Lions bring on the ground, whoo, man, if anybody can beat them at Texas Stadium or Jerry World or wherever the heck it's called, the Lions could probably do it. What do you think? You got anything? Can you sway me?
Well, now see, you're talking about run defense and some things like that, right? I mean, that when
Right.
you're
I
looking
know
at
the Lions are going to come in there and try to establish the run first. And there's a good chance they'll be able to do that. Unless the Cowboys make some obviously needed changes in the way they play the early downs. Because what teams are doing is they're running right at what's his name?
the linebacker,
Yeah, they're running right at him, and then they're blowing him out of there.
um, looking at their depth chart real quick, middle linebacker, that's Marquise Bell. And Micah Parsons is listed as the strong side linebacker, and Damon Clark is listed as the weak side linebacker.
Yeah, Bell and Clark are two names you hardly ever hear. That means they ain't tackling a lot. Okay, so if you run right at Parsons and these guys can't tackle, and you got him getting double teamed and knocked out of the hole, you're in trouble. Now the DB's got to make the stops.
Well, Damon Clark is coming in for Leighton Vander Esch, who's out on IR.
He was the starter. He's the hitter,
He's
but
the
he's got
hitter,
a
but
neck
he knocks
injury.
his own self out half the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what big hitters usually do.
The
Eventually,
interesting thing is Micah Parsons' backup, the Marvin Overshone, is also on IR. So I don't know who's going to be backing up Parsons if Parsons has to come out of the game. Not quite sure, but yeah, that's their linebackers. I mean, the defense wise, as far as the Cowboys are concerned, they are allowing 19 points a game and they're scoring 30. So that's where their averages are. The challenge with the Lions is that the Lions are scoring 27, they're giving up 23. So the question is, when we're looking at the Cowboys numbers, can we believe them, or do we have to take them with a bit of a grain of salt because we feel like that skew is built in there? That's the question.
I'm not gonna. I'm trying to keep that out of the equation in my head,
Oh, are you?
and just yeah, and just think about how much success I think the Lions offense can have against that defense after what I've seen over the course of the season. And I think they can be at least as productive, if not more productive offensively than Miami was against them last week. Now, the question is, will the defense travel? Yeah, they're getting a little bit better. Do you have anything on them in the last 3 weeks?
As far as the defense is concerned for the
Lions, yeah,
Cowboys,
the Lions defense.
for the Lions defense, right?
Yeah.
Defense over the last 3 weeks. Yeah, they're lower third. Looks like they're about 20 something in terms of the last 3 weeks. They are giving up 23 points a game, and they over the season they average 23.7. So they really haven't changed much. Now,
Right.
Dallas is averaging 19 for the season, but over the last 3 weeks, giving up 22.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
just a little bit more on that side of it.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions in this game. I think they had a lot of success shutting down Minnesota's run game last week. And I think they're going to have a little something for Tony Pollard, who hasn't been having the greatest of seasons. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't blown up either. I think if he can control him, they can get after Dak, and they can win this game.
You know,
Lions on the road.
it's the I've seen Tony Pollard run with power, and it's kind of interesting because I don't consider him a power back at all. And he had the one goal line where they basically stunned him right at the goal line, and they did not give him the touchdown.
Right.
But a bigger back, a stronger back, I think, would have scored there. You know,
Right.
And that, I mean, so when the Cowboys named him the starter, you know, as opposed to having that lightning thunder combo that they had kind of with Zeke, you know, I was looking for some thunder there. I don't see the thunder. And sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah. Number one, you're exactly right about that. Number two, I don't consider him a real lightning back. He's not a slasher. He's not a jitterbug. He's kind of a power runner without a power runner's body. You know what I mean?
I've seen him over. He's fast. He's you know,
He's got good speed, yeah, but
good speed.
I don't think he's as shifty as he could be,
Okay.
or maybe as they thought he would be.
Now this is the question before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
You're not chasing upsets again, are you?
On this one, no. I thought this one out. In fact, we spent too much time on this one.
Okay. All
But
right.
yeah, I'm going to go with the Lions.
Going with the Lions. That's crazy. Titans at Texans by a score of 6.5 favors the Texans. Well, again, Texans had a good season. Titans have been really up and down, so this doesn't surprise me too much. And there's a sliver of hope, from what I understand, that CJ might be back.
I should hope so, because he's been out like 2 weeks now, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, it's concussion, man. So, you know.
Yeah, but usually after they usually miss one game. A couple guys came back within a week. But you know, that's one of those
he
things
got
you can't.
slammed down on the ground. His head hit.
Everybody's different. I've seen guys get smacked in the head and be out 2 weeks. Guys get slammed on the ground, they're back the next week. You never know. Everybody's brain is different.
When I saw him walking off the field, I think he saw birdies and stars, not just birdies. He saw both of them. So
was there a birdie for every star?
You know what I mean? All lined up. But yeah, because you know, so we'll see. But that's why I say sliver. So we'll see. We'll see. What do you think?
All right. So let's see what we got here. Titans got to go on the road and play the Texans. Oh boy. Well, first of all, Texans are 5-10. They have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So crazy thing here. Will Levis is hurt, nursing an ankle injury. So the Titans brought back old veteran Ryan Tannehill, who I don't think has played at all this season. So he came in to start against Seattle last week. He only threw for 152 yards on 18 and 26 passing. He didn't throw any touchdowns. He did protect the ball. He had no turnovers, but he got terrorized in the pocket. He got sacked 6 times. He got hit 8 times. The only 2 touchdowns came from Derrick Henry. He actually threw a touchdown pass, and he ran one in. Now, on the brighter side, Houston, with C.J. Stroud still out in concussion protocol, the Texans had to play 2 quarterbacks. And when I say on the brighter side, I mean the Houston Texans future is brighter than the Titans, who've been eliminated already. But this game wasn't very bright. They played both their quarterbacks, Davis Mills and Case Keenum, against visiting Cleveland with that tough defense. Oh boy, Davis Mills threw 2 touchdown passes, but Case Keenum threw 2 interceptions. And the only other Texans score in the 36-22 loss came on a kickoff return by Damian Pierce. So Texans didn't have much to offer against Cleveland, but I'm sure they'll be better against the Titans. And I'm positive if CJ Stroud comes back, they'll be better than the Titans. So I have to take the Texans at home in this one.
Going with the bias, going with the Texans. All right, CJ, come on, man. We're looking for you. We're looking for you.
Yeah, really.
49ers at Commanders. Say it with me, Benny. Commanders. Bias score of 26.2 favors the 49ers.
26.2. Holy smokes. Well, they're not giving them no chance at all, huh?
Very little, very little. But
Yeah,
hey, that's
well,
how the bias buster gets built. If you can beat my Niners, my beloved Niners,
yeah.
and we got roughed up last week a little bit. So, but I'll let you go ahead and talk about it. You go ahead.
Yeah, Niners are now 11-4. Boy, oh boy. Not only, I almost don't even want to go through all this, but I'm going to go through it anyway because that's the right thing to do. So, in a game that you and I both considered a preview to the Super Bowl, the 49ers hosted, which makes it even worse, the Baltimore Ravens, and they got manhandled on their own field 33-19. Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions, 3 of them in the first half, 2 of which led to points for the Ravens directly. But thanks to a safety, a field goal, and finally a rushing touchdown by Christian McCaffrey, they were only down 16-12 at halftime. So I thought it'd still be a pretty good game. However, in the second half, the wheels fell off. 3 minutes into the third quarter, Purdy threw his 4th interception. The Ravens took it to the Niners' 9-yard line, and they quickly scored again. I tell you, man, it just seemed like they were in the Niners' territory the entire game. Down 33-12, with about 8 minutes left, Purdy got sacked and had to go to the blue tent, probably for to check him for a concussion. Sam Darnold took over, and he finished the drive with a touchdown pass to Ronnie Bell. That was the last score of the game, and they ended up losing the game. That was it. They couldn't score anymore. As far as the Commanders are concerned, they went into halftime against the Jets down 27-7. The Jets got most of their points off of Commanders' mistakes. Sam Howell threw an interception. They got a punt blocked, and they had a penalty on the Jets drive that they stopped them. The Jets punted. There was a penalty on the punt, gave the Jets back the ball, and I think they scored after that. I think they got a field goal after that one. So it was mistake on top of mistake on top of mistake for the Commanders. Now, after another interception at 8 minutes of the third quarter, Howell got benched. He got replaced by Jacoby Brissett. Brissett came into the game late last week and looked like he was going to try to pull off a win. Well, he tried to do it again this week. He led Washington on 3 consecutive scoring drives, 1 touchdown pass, 2 rushing touchdowns, and they took a 28-27 lead. But ultimately, the Jets kicked a field goal as time expired and ended up winning the game. So tough one for the Commanders. They almost got to put another one in the W column. Even though they are at home, they're 4-11. The Niners are 11-4. The Niners need a get-right game in the worst way. I pity the Commanders. I'm going to take the Niners, crush them.
You pity the fool, Benny.
Pity the fool.
Pity the fool. Pity the fool. Benny, look at the football in the graphic.
Yeah.
Did you notice the Wilson was upside?
Oh, yeah, that's okay, though. That's a good ball, man. That's a good broken-in ball. That's nice.
That ball looked good, didn't it? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Don't know why it's upside down like that, but I figured we'll leave it like that right now. Okay, going with the bias, going with the Niners. Love it. Hold it. I didn't even have me in the camera so I can go like that so you can see. You know what I'm saying? All right. Panthers at Jaguars. Price plus score 9.7 favors the Jaguars here. And Jaguars are kind of like the Chiefs. Things just aren't going well.
Yeah, again, the wheels are falling off, man. It's kind of crazy. Whew.
Yeah, that's definitely more of a reflection of how poorly the Panthers have played up to this point, even though they snuck a win in there. I'll let you talk about that. But yeah, the Jaguars, let us know, man, what's going on with the quarterback and what's going on with those guys.
I'm still trying to figure this all out because they're not playing up to the standard that they set early in the season and late last season. That's for sure. But the Panthers are 2-13. They scored a touchdown and kicked a field goal in the first half of their home game against the Packers, but found themselves down 23-10 at halftime. In the second half, Bryce Young led a comeback, throwing 2 touchdown passes and getting 1 on the ground to tie the score 30-30. So they put up a much better fight than I thought they would. With 4 minutes left, they were 30-30, but ultimately they lost when the Packers kicked a late field goal. These late field goals, man, are getting these teams putting up valiant efforts, but falling at the end to these field goal kickers. Packers won the game 33-30. Now, the Jags, they got smacked around by Tampa Bay. I believe I picked Tampa Bay to win this game. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I'll tell you the truth, man. I didn't think they was going to do them like that. That was crazy. And they lost their 4th game in a row. Trevor Lawrence, who just passed concussion protocol the day before the game, threw 1 touchdown, but also tossed 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. I'll tell you the truth. I don't think they should have let him play. He didn't look right from Jump Street to me.
Really?
Yeah, but anyway, he got sacked 4 times. He got replaced by C.J. Beathard in the 4th quarter with supposedly a shoulder injury. But I heard today that they think they're going to check him for concussion again. I don't know if he showed some symptoms later after the game or whatever. But yeah, if he had another concussion 2 weeks, 2 weeks in a row, that's bad. That's really bad. That's not good at all. We're talking about careers getting shortened here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So Jags are reeling right now, and the Panthers actually are showing signs of life. But I don't think they'll be able to take out the Jags. I just don't.
So who's quarterbacking for the Jags?
Yeah, if he can't go, you know what? If he can't go, I might just chase another upset here.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm thinking to myself, if you take Kim out the game, so many of these guys, man. Now, hey, Benny, let me throw this out while I take a quick look to see who that backup is. But after the Joshua Dobbs situation,
it's C.J. Beathard.
Okay, and I think you said that.
Yeah.
After the Joshua Dobbs thing, I'm thinking before I give any credence to a quarterback, I'm gonna have to watch him play 3 games at least.
That might not do it. Look at Jake Browning.
Will you say 5 games?
Yeah. We can't be anointing anybody too soon nowadays, man. Because Jake Browning was like, I'm like, yo, this guy, he's been on their bench all this time, and then he fell off a cliff.
It's like holy mackerel, man. So Jake Browning, DeVito.
Yeah. Well, DeVito had a nice little quirky story, so you know what I mean?
But he won 3 out of 4 games.
Yeah. So yeah. And he was on a hapless team. I mean, let's face it, the Giants aren't very good. So that kind of beefed him up too. Same thing with Browning. When Joe Burrow goes down, it looks like Cincinnati, first of all, they got off to a really slow start. So it was to the point when he came back that they couldn't afford to lose any games if they were going to make the playoffs. Then he goes down and everybody goes, oh, that's it, they're done. And then Browning comes in and starts winning games. So these stories kind of sway you. I can understand, but yeah, 5 games might be the minimum.
5, okay. Let's do it. Let's use 5. That makes sense. All right, Panthers at Jaguars. By a split score, 9.7 favors the Jags. You're going with?
I'm going to chase the upset. I'm going with the Panthers.
Going with Bryce Young and the boys. All right, Bryce going to have to get their scoring up. They're only averaging about 15 points a game. But I think last week they did better.
Yeah, they scored 30.
They scored 30. Yeah, exactly. All right. Cardinals at the Eagles coming on into Philly. Bias score of 8.6 favors the Eagles. So Eagle fans will get a treat. They'll get a chance to watch Kyler Murray run in his buggy looking style of running all around the field, create havoc, try to make the Eagles play 11 on 11 while the Eagles are trying to make Cardinals play 11 on 11. So it'll be interesting to watch two teams that have that capability. Bias plus obviously though favors the Eagles. Now Kyler was out for most of the season, so they weren't scoring a whole bunch. They're doing a little bit better, I think. You tell me.
Probably a little bit. I mean, let's face it, they're not winning. They're only 3-12, and we know Josh Dobbs won one game, so that means Kyler only won two since he's been back. But let's talk about the Eagles. They're 11-4. They will be at home. Now, maybe I noticed this more because we live in Philly, but I've never, and you tell me if you feel the same way or maybe you don't. I've never seen a team that's more influenced or seems to be more influenced by the fan base and the local media. It seems like when people get on talk radio and the commentators get on TV and they cry about stuff that they want to see the Eagles do, the next game, they freaking do it. The one game when Goddard came back, that sticks out in my mind. Now, he just came back from injury. It was his first game back. He didn't get maybe one or two passes. And everybody's like, yeah, why did he get Goddard involved? Then the next game, they open up the game, they throw the ball to him like 6 times in the first half. I noticed little stuff like that. I don't know what it is. But anyway.
Yeah, maybe you're just so close to it. We're not at the other cities. We're not in Cincinnati.
Right, so we don't hear their fans and what they're saying.
Yeah, I don't know how crazy they are. We know how crazy our Philly fans are, about this kind of stuff. And we've seen them jump on and off the bus. And then we've seen the ones I like the ones who feel it necessary to proclaim their loyalty, even though they don't look good, right? And I mean, we get that. I see a little bit of that coming from San Fran. So I can't say it's totally foreign. But again, being here in Philly, we're inundated.
Yes.
So it might make it a little bit different. All right, Cardinals at Eagles. What you got?
Well, it was a real sloppy effort by the Eagles against the Giants. Jalen Hurts ran for a score, and he threw a touchdown pass to Devontae Smith in the first half. And if you add on a couple of field goals that Jake Elliott kicked, and they went up 20-3 against the Giants. Then somehow in the second half, it turned into a game. They fumbled the opening kickoff in the second half. That led to a Giants score, and it Hurts threw a pick six, and all of a sudden the Giants are back in the game. They did get a running game going, though, which is something that the fans have been crying about. They did get DeAndre Swift going again. And they really took over the time of possession battle. They got a rushing score from DeAndre Swift and a couple more field goals, but they still only had a one-score lead before picking off Tyrod Taylor to end the game 33-25. So that one-score lead and Tyrod Taylor taking the Giants down the field with no time left on the clock, he threw to the end zone. It did get picked off, but that's how close they came to possibly having that score tied and that game going to overtime. So, of course, the fans are happy that they won because they needed a win after taking 3 losses in a row, but they don't like how it looked, especially against a team like the Giants. I loved it. I was glad to see the Giants be competitive and not just lay down, especially after they fell behind so far in the first half. But, that's just me. Anyway, the Cardinals had to visit Chicago. And their defense put forth a pretty weak effort against the Bears. There's not much to talk about the Cardinals, I'll tell you the truth. There's no way they're going to come into Philly and beat the Eagles. No way at all. I wish I could chase this as an upset. And the problem with this one is for the Eagles fans is if they do, in fact, give the Eagles trouble, I have no doubt the Eagles are going to win. I'm picking them to win. But if the Cardinals give them trouble, if they score a couple touchdowns on these guys and maybe get a pick or pick up a fumble or something like that, the fans are going to go nuts. It's going to be the Boo Birds will be out. But I'm going to take the Eagles to win the game.
Hey, Benny,
Yes.
Philly has a decided net point advantage over Arizona.
Yes.
But mainly because Arizona is in the negative and Philly barely in the positive over the season. They're plus 1.7 now. Philadelphia is. Okay.
That's all?
That's all. Okay. And Arizona is coming in on the season at minus 8.5. So you can see there, that's about a 10-point stretch. But
right.
over the last 3 weeks, Arizona is minus 4.3 and Philly is minus 5. So I'm looking for the upset to be glad.
What? Not you.
Oh man, I mean, I'm looking again. Kyler start running around out there, and
Oh, he can be trouble. He's a
James
handful.
Conner, is he healthy? Is he healthy?
Conner's healthy.
Oh my God, Conner get going there, running the ball, and all of that. It's going to be wild out there between those two teams. So I can understand why the Eagles would be favored. Again, we're here in Philly, so we hear everything. We hear all the moaning and groaning that's coming out the locker room, coming out the
and there's plenty of it.
We hear so much of that. And then even with the fans and all of that. So it's okay. I understand. You're gonna go, and again, it only makes sense. You're gonna go with the Eagles, going with the bias, which favors the Eagles. Okay. Patriots at the Bills. The Bills bias plus score of 17.8 favors those Bills. And again, you have a team with Josh Allen that can make you play 11 on 11. You see a trend going on here. Maybe that's why my coach traded all of those picks to try to get Trey Lance. He saw the trend.
Oh boy.
That's not his game. I don't think that's his game, but that's another story. Patriots at Bills. Nice fat 17.8 favors the Bills.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about those Patriots. I gotta say, this is one of those games I did not see coming. The lowly Patriots went into Mile High and somehow held on for a 26-23 victory over the Broncos. Oh, gosh. It looks as though they were destined to win after Bailey Zappi fumbled on the first play of the game, and the Broncos recovered, advanced the ball to the Patriots 6-yard line, and then got stopped on downs. Are you kidding me? At that point, I'm like, you know what? They got a shot. The Broncos did eventually score in the first quarter, and the Patriots kicked the field goal in the second, then ran off 20 unanswered points in the third quarter.
Wow.
The Patriots, Bailey Zappi, after a furious comeback by Denver in the fourth quarter to tie the score at 23. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, Patriots are going to crumble now. But they didn't. Their kicker, Chad Ryland, converted a 56-yarder with 2 seconds left on the clock to take the win home to New England. Wow. Now, for the Bills, Josh Allen ran for 2 touchdowns, and he threw for 1 in the Bills' road victory over the Chargers. Chargers played a lot better than I thought they would, to tell you the truth. Well, they got an interim coach now, so that's usually what happens when the head coach gets fired. The team comes right back and plays well.
Yeah, we might have to have a rule like with the backup quarterbacks for these interim coaches.
Right. Interim coaches with their first game victories.
Yeah.
Although they didn't win this game, though. They fell behind 10-0 early before Josh Allen hit Gabe Davis for a touchdown early in the second quarter. Then they went ahead on Allen's first rushing touchdown right before halftime. They then held the lead until the Chargers kicked the field goal with 5:26 left in the game to go up 22-21. So it was a game. But then the Bills drove 64 yards in 13 plays to win the game 24-22 on a 29-yarder by their kicker, Tyler Bass. Everybody's scared of the Bills now all of a sudden. Every sports program you watch on television, everybody's saying, nobody wants to play the Bills. Oh, Buffalo's on a roll. Josh Allen is showing who he's supposed to be or who we always thought he was going to be. Blah, 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 blah. They may be right. They may be wrong, but they'll be right this weekend. Bills will beat the Patriots.
Going with the bias, going with the Bills. The Bills thing. Uh-oh. The Rams are coming in to visit your New York Football Giants.
Wow.
And bringing a nice 9.8 bias plus score favoring those Rams with them. West Coast, East Coast?
well, I sure do hope so.
I don't want to be hollering holy poop in the cooler the whole darn game.
It's going to be tough not to. I tell you, he's been great, man. He's playing so well. Let me see. What did I do with that stuff I had about the Giants on the strike?
What do they call it? Trademark that? Can you trademark something like that with somebody's name in it? Like holy poop in the cooler.
Probably can. I would think so.
And that they're like one of the hottest teams right now, man.
Yes, they are.
Jeez.
Yes, they are. Matt Stafford's looking good. Cooper Kupp is healthy, looking good. And that kid Kyron Williams is a hell of a runner. They're making a big playoff push right now. They've now won 5 of their last 6 games, and they moved into the number 6 seed in the NFC playoff standings.
Oh, shucks.
So they're not hanging on at the edge. They're number 6 of 7. So they're in a pretty good spot. If they can hold on to that, they could be trouble for somebody in the playoffs. They beat the New Orleans
place. I keep telling you.
Oh, yeah. They beat the New Orleans Saints with a very efficient and balanced offense. Stafford threw 34 passes. He completed 24, 328 yards. Very nice. 2 touchdowns. Very nice. They ran the ball 32 times.
Wow.
With the 34 passes for 133 yards and 1 touchdown by Kyron Williams, who I just spoke of. He had 104 of that total 133 yards. Wow. Oh, yeah. And no turnovers.
Oh.
Clean game. Now, for the Giants, Tommy DeVito couldn't put together much offense, and he finished the first half down 20-3. Head coach Brian Daboll decided to bench DeVito to try to get a little spark in the third quarter, and replaced him with Tyrod Taylor. They got a rushing score from Saquon and a pick 6 by Dory Jackson to draw within 2 points at 20-18. Yeah, they made a game of it. That's why the Eagle fans are all in a tizzy. And when the Eagles pulled away again with a touchdown and a field goal, Tyrod connected with Darius Slayton up the sideline for a 69-yard score. That brought out the Boo Birds. People were holding their heads. Oh, God. Oh, they were going crazy. One last drive with the possibility of tying the score and going to overtime ended with an interception in the end zone as time ran out, and the Giants ended up losing the game 33-25. Heck of a fight, though, against a division rival and a team that is decidedly better than them talent-wise. But it's, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that. Anyway, I love my Giants. I really do. I know this is a down year, and I know the Rams got to come in here and play them. But the Rams are hot as a firecracker. I can only hope that it's a really good game. Obviously, I'll be rooting for my guys, but I got to pick the Rams to win this one.
Going with the bias, going with the Rams. I talked to our buddy Mark Russell.
Yeah.
I asked him after the game because, he called me. He had to call me just so he could bring what did he say? Something about ambulances or something for the Niners or something like that.
Oh, yes.
I asked him, I said, are you pulling your application for a fan membership for the Niners? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
I said,
Worst fan in the world.
I said, well, that was a really impressive win you had over a major contender there. He's like, oh, I gotta go, man. He didn't want to talk to me no more. I gotta go. So
Oh, wow.
you're right. They won, but they ain't happy about it. So
Nah, not at all.
they wanted to just come in there and just spank the Giants, kick them aside, and move on, and it didn't happen like that. Now let me
That's
ask
the
you
way
this
it was
quick
supposed to
question,
be.
because I'm always questioning these coaches and their decisions in terms of who they're playing. So how long has Tyrod Taylor been there? He's been there all along, right?
Yeah,
So the Dable saw DeVito
right.
as a better starting option 4 or 5 weeks ago than
Uh,
Tyrod Taylor.
well, Tyrod was getting over a rib injury.
Okay, all right.
So I think they said, you know what, we'll give him at least one more week. We'll throw Tommy out there and see how he does. And he played well.
Okay. That makes
Yeah,
a little more
it's
sense.
more like that. Yeah.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. You going with the bias, going with the Rams.
Yes.
All right. This is what we tell people. Sometimes the numbers dictate. They dictate. We have to go with them, even if that's not emotionally where we want to be, So Saints at Buccaneers. Bias plus score of 0.9 favors the Buccaneers. This was on the list for intriguing games of the week for me. Because
Okay.
I'm not the biggest Baker fan, but Baker's getting it done. Baker's
Yes.
trying to get a contract next year already. They're talking about bringing him back and everything. And as long as you can continue to find those receivers that the Buccaneers have, man, you can have a pretty successful career down there. And he seems to be doing that.
Yes, indeed. Again, division game. Saints are 7-8. They had to go on the road last week to LA and play the Rams. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened on the trip or whatever, but they didn't put up much of a fight against the Rams. Derek Carr threw 3 touchdown passes. He did his part. The offense was moving along pretty well, but he only had one in the first half, which was their only score until early in the fourth. Other than that, they could not find the end zone. And by then, they were down 30-7. Woo! The defense that I said last week had been hot and cold was definitely cold in this one. They only had 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits on Matt Stafford. You leave him clean like that, he's going to tear you apart. That's exactly what he did. They did nothing to slow down the Rams running game either. They lost the game 30-22. Now, Tampa Bay is in first place in the NFC South, trying to win the division and secure their playoff spot. They played host to the AFC South leader, Jacksonville, and they beat them handily, 30-12. After a stretch that saw the Bucs lose 6 of 7, they have now won 4 straight. Baker Mayfield's been playing extremely well. And in this one, he went 26 of 35, 283 yards, and 2 touchdowns and 0 turnovers. That's a great day for Baker. The defense collected 4 takeaways. Bucs are on fire right now. I got to pick them to win this game.
Yeah, I guess.
They're home, they're hot, and they're playing a division rival. I got to go with them.
Yeah. I can understand it. I can understand it. I'm just, as much as I'm kind of impressed by Baker, when I look at the Buccaneers, they're still averaging only about 20 points a game. So they're
Okay.
not maybe the hottest offense out there. But we had, and again, you see that's a very small bias, which means they're basically playing at the same level as the Saints have been playing all along there. And you think the Saints are going to have the same quarterback, uh, Derek Carr, next year?
I don't know because I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm starting to wonder.
I'm not sure that if they're very happy with him, to tell you the truth.
I'm beginning. I've heard the things that I've heard kind of say no, they're not super happy with him. At least they're not as bad as somebody else we know. We'll talk about that other team and what they did with their quarterback a little later.
Okay.
Raiders at Colts by a score of 1. It's the loneliest number, but it favors the Colts in this situation. Wait till you see our pick. We have a meme up there, and they're talking about how the Raiders beat the Chiefs,
Hmm.
and like they didn't score for hardly at all. Offense like hardly scored anything, and they still beat the Chiefs.
It's terrible. The Colts. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Let's talk about that first. So, uh, so I kind of saw this one coming because I've been looking kind of side-eyed at the Chiefs all season, and I don't see it getting much better. I really don't. But even though I kind of saw this one coming as a possibility, I didn't believe that it would happen. The Raiders actually took it to the Chiefs in Kansas City and came away with a 20-14 victory. They scored twice on defense. That certainly hurt the Chiefs. And they kept their offensive attack very simple, very basic, and never turned the ball over. That's a big deal for them. Quarterback Aiden O'Connell, a guy who a couple of weeks ago was looking like he might lose his job, didn't even complete a pass after the third quarter. And running back, no, that's wrong. Did I put third quarter? He didn't complete a pass after the first quarter.
Right. Oh my God.
But running back Zamir White, who was substituting for injured Josh Jacobs, had 22 carries for 145 yards. So much for that vaunted Chiefs defense.
Oh my
These cats are
goodness.
coming apart at the seams, man. I'm telling you. Defensively, besides the fumble return for a score and the pick six that happened less than 20 seconds later, they harassed Mahomes. They sacked him 4 times. They hit him 10 times, and they registered 7 tackles for loss, basically shutting down their run game, too. So, good job by the Raiders in that game. Now they got to go to Indianapolis and play the 8-7 Colts. The Colts, who had actually won 5 of 6 and were looking good to make the playoffs, struggled very badly on offense in a 29-10 loss in Atlanta. This game looked weird. They did not look like the Colts. I don't know who they did look like, but they didn't look like the Colts that had been playing the last few weeks. They were only able to score 1 touchdown, and that was on a run by Jonathan Taylor early in the game. And yeah, Jonathan Taylor came back. I'm thinking, oh, they're good to go now. Didn't happen. Gardner Minshew only completed 20 of 37 passes, 201 yards, and he threw a pick. He got sacked 6 times. He got hit 11 times. The defense wasn't great either, unable to force any turnovers, and they only recorded 1 stinking sack. Now, I love Antonio Pierce. I hope he gets the head coach job with the Raiders, but I don't think they're going to beat the Colts at home this week. I really don't. Colts got it back. They need to bounce back in the worst way, and I think they'll get it. I'm going to take the Colts.
Going with the Colts. Well, the Colts were dealing with that Falcon defense, man. Last 2 weeks, they're only allowing 16 points per game. So,
Yeah, that Falcon defense is kind of cuckoo. It's kind of like the Saints have been. When they're hot, they're really hot. When they're cold, it's like they shouldn't even showed up. It's crazy.
all right. But you're going to go with
Colts.
going with the bias, going with the Colts.
Yeah, they're trying to win their division and get that playoff spot. They're going to play hard.
Speaking of the Falcons defense, Falcons at the Bears by a score of 1.2 favors those Falcons.
Mm,
1.2.
here we go.
Skinny.
Falcons get the bias. Okay, so Falcons are 7-8. I think they're not out of the playoff race just yet. This is clearly the season of the backup quarterback, no doubt about it. The Falcons benched Desmond Ridder and replaced him with a very familiar name. Anybody remember Taylor Heineke? Yeah. They brought in Taylor Heineke. He got the start at home against the Colts. Ridder had committed a bunch of turnovers, but in this game, Heineke had no turnovers. He
Wow.
threw one touchdown pass. He got one on the ground from Tyler Algier and count them, five field goals from Younghoe Koo, their place kicker, who's having a great year, along with a strong defensive performance, 6 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, and 8 tackles for loss. The 29 points they scored in the 29-10 win was the most they scored in any game this whole season. How about that? 29 points. That's the most they scored all season. Wow. Okay, so for the Bears, Justin Fields threw 4 touchdowns, ran for another one, and the Bears got the win over the visiting Cardinals. Cardinals, jeez. 27-16 was the score. Running back Khalil Herbert had a real good game. He led the ground attack with 112 yards rushing, and he scored a touchdown. Last week, they got out to an early lead against the Browns, and then the Browns put the pressure on, and the Bears collapsed at the end and lost the game. But an early 21-0 lead on the Cardinals, they were able to withstand the comeback effort by the Cardinals, and they held on for the win. Now, Bears are a tricky team. It's like, first of all, this Justin Fields thing, I can't figure this out. Are they going to keep him, or are they going to let him go, try to trade him, and draft a quarterback in this next draft? It's really hard to say, especially when he keeps winning games and kind of looks really good doing it. You know what I mean? The only thing is, he doesn't do it consistently enough. That's what I'm hearing from the so-called experts. That being said, boy, this is an intriguing game candidate
Uh-oh.
for me.
Right.
Yeah, this is a tough one to call. But I tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm gonna uh, um I'm gonna go with the Bears. I'm gonna take the
Going
Bears
against
to
the
win.
bias, going with the Bears over the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears.
Ah,
I don't believe Heineke can string together 2 good ones like that. He hasn't played enough.
it's the Falcons defense that's the question.
Well, yeah,
What
but
was it, 16 points per game? They put it on there and put that defensive clamp. Now again, just it feels a player who can make the other team play 11 on 11.
that is correct. And he's a dynamic runner.
But we'll have to see how that matchup goes because yeah,
Yeah,
he's a heck
it's
of a runner
not
once he
that
takes
he can
off.
just run.
Yeah,
He's an excellent runner.
yeah, he's way faster than what you might think too.
Yes.
All right, so you're going with the Bears.
Going with the Bears.
Dolphins at Ravens. Ding, ding, ding. Intriguing game.
That's it. That's the
That's
one.
it right there. First of
Bam.
all, after the spanking the Ravens put on my Niners, I couldn't do last week's game because they were playing the Niners.
Right.
Just giving them the respect, and then you're looking at the Dolphins.
But you did do the Dolphins Cowboys. That was your game, right?
Yeah.
So now you're going with the Dolphins again.
Well, that's true. That's true because the Dolphins won. They beat the Cowboys.
Right.
Ravens won. They beat my Niners.
Right.
So that's 2 AFC teams that beat 2 NFC teams now coming together. And the Ravens have that number 1 spot, and the Dolphins are
Are
just
trying to get it.
salivating to get up.
Yes. Yes.
Salivating.
Yes. I agree. I agree.
3.6 bias favors the Ravens.
Perfect candidate. I agree. Dolphins are 11-4. Ravens are 12-3. This should be a good one. But I don't want to get too excited because I thought last week with the Niners was going to be a good one. Anyway.
It was good if you were a Ravens fan.
Yeah, it was great if you were a Ravens fan. And actually, it was a good game in the first half, to tell you the truth. But so Tua threw a touchdown pass to Raheem Mostert, and then kicker, and here's another kicker with 5 field goals in the game, Jason Sanders. He made 5 field goals. The last one he made was at the end of a 12-play, 64-yard drive for the 22-20 win as time expired. That was over the Cowboys. So that was a big, exciting finish for the Dolphins. They did what they had to do to win that game. The Ravens went to play the Niners in a game that I thought would be a defensive slugfest with both teams trading field goals and touchdowns being at a premium. The game sort of started that way, but then Niner mistakes started. And the Ravens scored points after several of those mistakes. The Ravens defense picked off Brock Purdy 4 times. Then after he sat down for Sam Darnold, they picked Darnold off once too. They sacked each of the quarterbacks twice and collected 9 total quarterback hits. Lamar threw for 252, 2 touchdowns. He rushed 7 times for 45 yards. 30 of those yards was on one particular run where he broke about 3 people's ankles. You remember that run? I thought he was going to run out of bounds, bro. All of a sudden, he put his foot in the ground and broke to the middle of the field, and cats was losing their jocks. It was a mess. What a run. That was nice. That being said, this is going to be a heck of a game. But I heard something by Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen today. And I don't remember everything he said, but I wrote down one thing he said. He said, we play defense like other teams want to play it, but they can't. He said, all that cute stuff, playing basketball on grass, we're not about that. They're bringing the hammer, man. I'm telling you, the Ravens defense is looking real scary. It's almost looking Ray Lewis, Tony Saragusa, Ed Reed scary. Queen and Roquan Smith are wreaking havoc on run games, and their secondary is tight. They play a lot of man. They're playing extremely well. I'm going to take the Ravens to beat the Dolphins.
And going with the Ravens. And, it's interesting because Lamar, the thing that distinguishes him is his speed in addition to everything else. But, for a quarterback to have that level of speed is just, and somebody said they think that his speed actually kind of shocked the Niners. Like they really wasn't expecting to be that fast. You know what I mean? The Dolphins, let me ask you this question. That final drive when the Dolphins got the ball and they had to drive, they needed a field goal to win. Did you have any doubt that Tua could get them down the in field goal range?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either.
I didn't.
And the thing is, Tua gets the ball out pretty much faster than anybody in the league, which kind of negates that rush a little bit. And that rush is what really crushed my Niners. We lost that battle at the line of scrimmage. There's no doubt about it. When you see Purdy getting hit like that, that's just indicative of losing the game or losing the battle at the line of scrimmage. So I do want to see how the speed holds up. I don't think that the Dolphins necessarily are trying to be cute. They just run what they run, and Tyreek Hill is when he runs by you, that's not being cute. He's just running by you. So I saw this. I saw the Patrick Queen statement, and I think they roughed my Niners up a little bit, but I don't think they're playing. I don't think the Dolphins are playing basketball on grass. Maybe track on grass, but not basketball. So it's going to be interesting to see. That is a small bias, only 3.6 favorite
Mhm.
Ravens. So ding, ding, ding. Intriguing game of the week for the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings blog. Keep an eye out for that. All right. Steelers at Seahawks. Bias plus score 1.8 favors the Steelers, Benny. The Steelers. Now, Ben, it held true. What's the name of the Steelers backup quarterback that's coming in now?
Mason Rudolph.
I told you I can't keep his name in my mind.
Yeah.
But when I said something negative about him, that means he's going to have a good game and show off. But I'll tell you, as far as Mason Rudolph is concerned, he can have a good game. Number one, he looked much better prepared. Like he knew the offense because he's been there, how many years now. So he looked better
Yeah,
prepared.
he's been there and he's been on the sideline with a headset and a clipboard all season long.
Yeah. So he came in looking pretty prepared, but I still believe in the long run, I don't think he can make the 5 games that we use.
Well, I tell
We
you
shall
what,
see.
I was ready to leave the Steelers for dead, to tell you
You
the truth.
did say they
Now they're
weren't going
eight
to
and
win any
seven.
more games.
That's what I said. I said I didn't think they were going to win another game. But now they're 8 and 7. And they, in fact, had lost the 3 previous games, but their playoff hopes actually were looking like they were slipping away. But they called on third string quarterback Mason Rudolph, and he led them to a 34-11 blowout victory over the Bengals. The Bengals are just falling apart. They had a little surge there after Burrow went down and Browning took over, but it looks like they're on E at this point. Rudolph threw for 290 yards. He threw 2 beautiful touchdown bombs to George Pickens, and the defense helped keep the offense on the field with 3 interceptions. Now they're going to have to go up to Seattle and play the Seahawks, and the Seahawks defense actually played really well against the Titans. They recorded 6 sacks on Tannehill. They hit him 8 times, and they had 10 tackles for loss. That's the Titans with Derrick Henry. The Titans won the time of possession. I checked that. But the Seahawks held them out of the end zone when it counted and helped secure a 20-17 win. So even though they did run the ball well enough to own the time of possession, they could not score. And that's how the Seahawks were able to hold on and get the victory 20-17. Geno Smith finished them off with 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes, 1 to DK Metcalf, and the game winner to tight end Cody Parkinson with less than a minute left to play. Seahawks are dangerous. Their team, well, didn't you say nobody's going to want to play those NFC West teams?
Yeah.
You said that. This Seahawks are just like the Rams. Man, they're a handful, man. And the Steelers have to go up there and visit the 12th man. And you know that doesn't work out too well for teams. Didn't work out too well for Philadelphia anyway.
Yeah.
I got to take the Seahawks, man. Both teams have the same record. Steelers been doing it with smoke and mirrors for most of the season, and I can't really put any belief in Mason Rudolph, even though he did play well in this last game. But like I said, the Bengals are falling apart, so I can't give him too much credit for that one. I'm going to go with Geno and the Seahawks.
Now, the interesting part about this game, Benny, is that the Seahawks, when I started to calculate, Seahawks were actually the net point. They came out ahead on net points, but only at 0.2.
Okay.
Steelers, however, are doing really good in the turnover differential situation, and they're actually +1, a full 1, whereas the Seahawks were +0.2. So by the time I did all the calculations, although the Seahawks were net point bias favorites, the points calculation that the Steelers got off of their net turnover differential is what pushed them into the positive and made the Steelers the favorites in this situation. Now,
Well, Browning threw him 3 last week.
well, there you go. Now, interestingly, looking at the Seahawks and the Steelers, Benny, Seattle and Pittsburgh over the last 3 weeks are giving up the exact same amount of points, 20.7 points per game.
Okay.
Exactly. So if Mason comes out and plays halfway decent, that's going to be a decent game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a decent game. And the Seahawks better be careful. These boys will come take that ball from you.
Yep.
If they don't do anything else. But as far as you are concerned, you are going with the
Seahawks.
Seahawks and going against the bias plus score of 1.8.
Correct.
All right. Well, all right. Here you go. Wherever you are, there you go. Bengals at Chiefs bias plus score of 1.5. They don't even sound right considering how tough the Bengals have had it lately. 1.5 favors the Chiefs.
Oh, I
It don't even sound right, does it?
Yeah. So, like I said, the Bengals are falling apart. They're 6-7. They got embarrassed in Pittsburgh, 34-11. Jake Browning came back down to earth. He got sacked 3 times. He got hit 8 times. He got intercepted 3 times. The run game got shut down early, and game script dictated that Browning had to go to the air. He threw the ball 42 times, and he was only able to connect for 1 touchdown. Now, talk about embarrassing losses. Here's another one that I didn't see coming. The Chiefs lost to the Raiders 20-14 in a game where the Raiders didn't complete a pass after the first quarter of the game. Mahomes threw a pick 6, and Isaiah Pacheco lost a fumble that turned into a scoop and score. You can't let the other team's defense. Turnovers is bad enough. But when you turn the ball over and it turns right into a score, that makes it even worse. The run game got shut down to the point that Mahomes, who only really runs when he needs to, or he has a real clear opening, like he can see the first down mark and he just runs and goes gets it. But he kind of, I wouldn't even consider him a running quarterback. He ended up being the leading rusher on the team.
Wow.
And when he was in the pocket, he got assaulted by that super aggressive Raiders pass rush. I tell you, that guy, Max Crosby, he's got to be in line for Defensive Player of the Year, man. That guy's relentless.
He is.
He is relentless. Yeah, the Bengals ain't gonna beat nobody. Even the Chiefs with all their problems, I'm gonna pick them to beat the Bengals.
All right. So you're going with the bias, going with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
What a small bias it is. Chargers at Broncos. Bias plus score of 0.4, 0.4 favors the Broncos. However, that bias plus is the Russell Wilson Bronco bias. We now have a new quarterback coming in Denver. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, well, let's talk about last week's game first. So here's a big issue for the Broncos also. New England was the clear underdog. I think they were a double-digit underdog per Vegas last week in their game against the Broncos in Mile High. They also became the 4th underdog to beat the Broncos on their home field, and they beat them 26-23. The Denver defense has been carrying the team for most of the season. The offense has had its moments, but it's been pretty pedestrian at best. Russell Wilson threw for 238 and 2 touchdowns. Both of those touchdowns were in the 4th quarter after they were already down 23-7, and it was far too little, too late. Now we find out today that Jared Stidham has been named the starting quarterback for this week. Jared Stidham. Last time Jared Stidham played, I believe he was the backup for Derek Carr when he was with the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. The Chargers are 5-10. Kicker, Cameron Dicker. Yeah, Dicker the kicker is what they call him. Here's another guy. Made 5 field goals, but the Chargers' only other score came on a run by quarterback Easton Stick, and they lost the game to the Bills. Stick threw for 215. He didn't turn the ball over, but he couldn't find the end zone through the air, and he took 5 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. So I noticed that after the Chargers fired their coach, they kind of went back. They looked a little different on offense. I know for sure that Austin Eckler looked different, but I mean, we're talking about Easton Stick versus Jared Stidham.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't even want to call this game. I really don't. And I'll tell you, some other information that I found out about the Broncos is making me not want to pick them just on principle alone. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Chargers in this game. If this doesn't work out for me, I'm just going to chalk this one up to the heart, not the head.
Okay. All right. I can understand it. Going with the Chargers. Bias plus score favors the Broncos going against the bias. Yeah, Easton Stick and Stidham. The quarterback matchup.
It sounds like a law firm.
I know.
Stick, and Stidham.
The only thing is, now that I've spoken negatively, they'll probably both throw for 400. Oh, goodness. All right. So you are going with the Chargers. All right. You got it. Packers at Vikings. Division contest bias plus score 4.5 favors the Vikings. Nick the Quick coming in going to handle his business with the Packers coming in with Jordan Love and the young boy crew. Talking about how young these guys are. So we see.
Yeah, the Packers kept their playoff hopes alive. They beat the Panthers in a tough game, way tougher, I'm sure, than they thought, much tougher than I thought, but they ended up winning 33-30. Jordan Love threw 2 touchdown passes. He ran for 1 score, along with another rushing score by A.J. Dillon, and that got the job done against the Panthers. Nick Mullins got absolutely nothing from his run game and was forced to throw the ball 36 times. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 4 interceptions, and they lost 30-24. Can't win like that, throwing all those picks. Let's see. Minnesota's at home. Oh boy, I tell you, some of these games, this game looks like it's going to be a stinker. It'll probably turn out to be a good game. I don't know. I'm going to go with the hot hand. I'm going to go with the young boy. I'm going to go with the Packers.
Going with Love, going against that Vikings defense. Now that's a defense that's held up.
Yeah,
for the team.
They play well.
Yeah. So we'll see if he does well against that Vikings defense. That'll be actually a bit of a feather in his cap, I believe. Talking about Mr. Love. All right, Benny. Hey, I didn't realize that was the last game.
Yes, sir.
For Sunday night. That wraps up the Bias Plus reports for NFL Week 17 of the 2023-24 season. You notice I always put that 24 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons run now. These NFL seasons run across 2 calendar years. So you can't just say 2023 or 2024 because you don't know which calendar year it's either running into or was run into from the previous year. Long story short, Bias Plus reports that wraps up the week. And what that generally means is the Bias Plus Buster of the week. Those Pittsburgh Steelers
Oh,
with a Bias Plus Buster score of 28. Like I said, if I talk bad about the quarterback, there's no doubt he's going to come in
bro.
play extraordinary.
I said they wouldn't win another game, and now they're the Bias Plus Buster. Doggone it.
Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Give him a
Uh,
hand. I know. I'm surprised, but yeah, those Pittsburgh Steelers, man. I'm telling you. All right, Benny. Let's take a quick look at our page, and we get ready to wrap up this piece here. Okay, Benny. So let's take a look at the Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page. A few articles. This was interesting. The cost of a beer and a hot dog at every NFL stadium. I think Philly came in 5th highest or something like that. in this, just quickly here, I just thought these scoring facts. We always talk about how the kickers are always the leading scorers on these teams. Excuse me. Everybody on this list, top 10 scorers in the NFL for 2023. Raheem Mostert and Christian McCaffrey, the only non-kickers in that list. So we brought that to you. Now, only 2 players in NFL history have had 2,200 plus receiving yards in a game for 3 different teams. That would be one T.O. and Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper, all right.
He just played out, just been playing out of his mind. We talked about the quarterbacks that'll be starting. These were the week 1 quarterbacks, and they were all benched so far this season. Mac Jones, Jimmy G, Mr. Howell with the Commanders, Mr. Ritter, and now Russ joins that group, man. But you know what they're saying about Russ, Benny, is that he has an injury clause that if he gets injured, he gets paid like $31 million right at the beginning of the spring, or right on the other side of 2024. So they don't want that injury piece to kick in and make them required to pay him that much money, and that's why they're sitting him down. But that's not what the coach is saying. The coach is saying he sees a better chance to win with Jarrett Stidham. And everybody.
Okay, and we know that's bull.
We know that's bull. So
this is what I heard.
Go ahead.
I heard it first on Speak. They went to a commercial break, and they said, when we come back from the commercial, we have an exclusive interview with, I think the guy's a beat writer for the Broncos there in Denver. And he's got some interesting information that we'll be hearing for the first time in reference to Russell Wilson. So they go to commercial, they come back, they bring the guy on the screen. This guy said, back in October, the Broncos came to Russell Wilson and asked him to defer some of his guaranteed money to next year. Okay, he's not going to lose any money, but they don't want to give it to him this year. They want to push it back to next year, probably so they can use that money for something or somebody else. So, of course, Russell Wilson said no. This sounds crazy. They told him, if you don't do it, we're going to bench you and make you inactive. Then they went on a win streak. Right. So after the New England loss, they said, now we can do it. Whack. They whacked him.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I heard about the injury clause. You heard about the conversation. I heard, now I'm surprised because when you were saying he would not lose any money, they just wanted to defer that money. And
yes.
The question about his guarantee, this was guaranteed money though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what can I tell you? What can I tell you? Jair Alexander.
This is funny.
Go ahead.
So they interviewed him after the game. First of all, I think he's from down North Carolina.
Yeah.
So he felt like, and I think he probably said something to a couple of his teammates, and they egged him on. I don't know that to be a fact, but I kind of get that feeling. Okay. He decides to go out for the coin toss. But this is why they were pissed. Not just because he kind of broke protocol, because they picked the captains before the game.
Right.
They pick who goes out for the coin toss before the game. The coaches have reasons for who they pick to be captains and to go out for the coin toss. And he proved why they do that. This knucklehead goes out, wins the toss, and says, we want to go on defense. Now, if you do that, you have to kick off in the first half and the second half.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yes. You don't say, I want to go on defense. You say, I want to defer to the second half. So he said, I want the defense to be on the field first. So I told him, I said, that's what I want. I want the defense. And then the ref said, they looked at me, and then the ref said, you mean defer? And he said, yeah, I guess. He had no clue. He had no clue.
Yeah, that's a specialized part of the game that you need to have some clue about. And
it's surprising how many guys don't know.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't know because it's very specific language that you have to use.
That's correct.
So, okay. I just thought that was hilarious. Both of these statements are true. The Raiders beat the Chiefs on Monday in Arrowhead. Their last completion was with about 2 minutes left in the first quarter.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
2 minutes left in the first quarter was their last completion. Oh, man.
So they made two defensive scores hold up because the Chiefs' offense is borderline inept.
And Max Crosby is absolute beast.
Absolute beast.
Absolute beast there, Benny. So consequently here, Russell Wilson got benched. He had $39 million guaranteed for 2024, an additional 37 that will become guaranteed if he can't pass the physical. That's what I was talking about. Denver's move to sit him assures the money won't trigger. We're talking about in case he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But what I understand is that if they cut him because of the way his contract is structured, they would be hit with over a 2-year period, over 80, like close to 85 million in dead cap money. They would split it between 2 years, but
chances are that's what they're going to end up having to do, though. You're going to keep him around as a backup?
No, you're not going to pay a backup that much money. That's putting up your whole team because you got no cap space. So
that's right.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
He negotiated a good contract, and now they got. Is he with? I don't know if he's with Rock Nation or if he's with
I'm not sure
LeBron's
who his agents are.
Clutch. I kind of think he's with Rock Nation. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anywho, moving on. Your boy Antonio. P.
Yes.
Mark Davis sees improvement. He says, hopefully, Mark Davis sees an improvement and growth within our team and the style of play he wants from the Raiders. And he sees a fan base that's behind this. This guy really wants to be the coach.
Yes, he does.
He really wants to be a coach. Well, has he gotten his 5 games in yet?
I don't know if it's been 5 games. This week might be 5.
Okay. All right. So we get the 5-game test, and we'll see how they go from there. The fact that your quarterback didn't complete a pass in the first quarter does not weigh well.
But the fact that he was able to turn that into a win does. I mean, everybody knows what they're up against.
That defense did it. So, okay. Anyway, thanks for following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Our motto is football is life. Our website is www.benandbarryonfootball.com. We are on YouTube, Instagram. I'm on Threads, and I share our information on Threads and Facebook. So join us. Any last words, Benny?
No, I'm good, man. Looking forward to some good football this weekend.
Looking forward to some good football this weekend. You and me both. Intriguing game of the week will be that Miami Ravens game. I'll start writing up on that maybe tomorrow after I finish doing the editing on this film. All right. Oh, Happy New Year to everybody out there. We won't.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, happy whatever you celebrate. And our next show will be in January, right?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Okay.
We'll be firmly in January at that point.
Cool.
So what I'm wishing for everybody for 2024 is I wish for everybody to hit the number, hit the lotto.
That'd be wonderful.
Wouldn't it be wonderful?
That'd
Benny,
be
let me
wonderful.
know when you hit that million. All right.
Got it.
All right. Peace.